Welcome to Basic Brewing Video. I'm James Spencer.
I'm Steve Wilkes.
Today we're playing with grain.
Heaven forbid.
Yes.
This is going to be fun. I'm anxious to taste these guys. Tell us what we're doing here, James.
Well, we are doing an experiment inspired by probably the most fun brewing book that I've ever read, Radical Brewing by Randy Mosher. And if you are a brewer and you're serious about it, you need to get this book.
Even if you're not serious about it, it's a good read.
Yeah, actually. It gives a history of brewing, and it also gives you some ideas on how you can do some kind of wacky brews and kind of think out of the box. And one thing that Randy talks about is roasting your own grain.
Which we've done.
Which we have done. And why would you want to do that, you ask?
You ask? Why are you asking me?
Why would you want to do that?
Well, you want to do it because look at these wonderful little flavor profiles. You change the profile of your beer a little bit.
That's right.
So it becomes, if you have a standard recipe of some kind and you want to do something different and get a little bit kooky, well, this is a way to do that.
And you can make your own specialty grains that aren't available out there. Like we're using Maris Otter here today, and that comes basically, I believe, in just one color and one roast level. And if you want to create some sort of specialty grains or some different colors and flavors with Maris Otter, you can get a unique brew. So some tips that Randy gives. He says we didn't do this, but he says malts kilned moist will taste richer and maltier than those roasted dry. He says that also freshly kilned malts need a couple of weeks to mellow out. So some of these you may want to keep around for a couple of weeks before you use them to brew with. But Randy's also got some ideas on temperature and duration and such as that. But what we did was we did an experiment. I measured out a pound of Maris Otter just to start with, and we put that out onto a pizza pan, and we roasted it at 300 degrees. And what we did is at the 15-minute mark, we took out about a third of the grain. At the 25-minute mark, we took out some more. And at the 35-minute mark, we took out the rest of it.
I'm your lovely assistant.
You are. Well done, Carol Merrill. And then what we did was we took just Maris Otter straight out of the bag.
So this is our control.
That's our control.
Yeah.
And we steeped it at 150 degrees for 10 minutes just to get an idea of the color difference that we're getting here. So what we've got is the grains actually are visually less different than the steeped water,
right?
Essentially steeped tea that we have. And you'll find that in the store. I mean, if you look at 20 Lovibond versus 60 Lovibond crystal, you're not going to see a lot of color impact in the grain, but take a look at what we've got here. This is the control. This is just the Maris Otter. And then take us through the rest there.
Well, this is the 15-minute, the 25-minute, and the 35-minute. And boy, is there a big difference here. Huge difference here.
Yeah, so the Maillard reaction happened somewhere between 15 and 25 minutes.
That's no kidding. And this one is even darker than, this 10 minutes is definitely different as well. And it's interesting, you can really get, there's just a huge difference in the bouquet of these. So,
and even between the unroasted and the 15-minute, which there's not a lot of color difference, if you taste it, which we did, there is a lot of, or a noticeable flavor difference.
It's really sweet and nutty. I like that a lot.
It's very sweet.
And each time they lose a little bit of the sweetness, perceived sweetness. I frankly don't have any way to know if this has less sugar than this. I don't really understand that. But the one that's been roasted the longest is definitely not as sweet in the palate.
Right.
So,
the middle one, I get kind of roasted peanuts. And then the third one over there, which we tasted before, I'm not going to reach across you, but it tastes very kind of acrid And I used ashy.
Yeah, I thought that was a
Imagine.
perfect word for it. It tastes like ashes.
And Randy said that you may want to mellow these out for a couple weeks. I think that you would definitely want to mellow out that one.
These two seem like you could use them right now. Now,
Oh, yeah.
Would they get better? I don't know.
Yeah.
So it'd be worth hanging on to and finding out. But this one, I would not put this in my beer right now.
Right.
So
Right. But you can see the color impact. And Randy also has, in the book, he has a suggestion or instructions for making crystal malt, which is a whole different animal. Basically, crystal malt is, and they do this at the maltster, while it's still wet, they take it up to mash temperature. And so basically, inside the kernel of the crystal malt, the starches are converted to sugars. And then they go ahead and they kiln it some more to give the color and the roasty characteristics that you want. So that's why crystal malt is sweeter than this stuff. So I would there's just an enormous amount of possibilities to what you could do to play with this kind of stuff, to give your beers the kind of character that sets them just a little bit apart.
it's a little different.
Now, you asked me earlier, will this have an impact on the enzymatic properties? I mean, could you roast a whole batch of grain for your beer and have it be safe to use in the mash? The answer is I don't know. I don't know at what point the enzymes start to become degraded. So if you're cautious about that, especially if you're going to roast something for a long time, you probably only want to use a small portion of your mash for that. And since these are base malts, we're using base malts, you probably do want to mash these instead of just steeping them
Right.
in an extract batch. So what do you think?
Well, I think we should taste these. I'd like to
Okay.
see what they taste like.
We got a little time left.
Yeah.
I think in just that 10 minutes.
Should we just share? I don't have a
Yeah,
cold.
go ahead. Yeah, my herpes is in recession. So.
I'm glad. Okay, so that's kind of like a weak barley tea.
And this is a little stronger tasting.
Gee, do you think? I mean, this is just so scientific. It's killing me. A little stronger, but actually kind of pleasant.
The roastiness is starting to come out.
Coming
right
out.
there. And then the final one.
Oh, that's good. This kind of tastes like weak coffee.
Ooh. I don't want to influence you, but
Wow.
that's potent.
That's like somebody made Postum and it's too strong.
So there you go. We're going to check
Yeah.
these out in a couple weeks to see if they've mellowed any,
Yeah.
and then we'll go from there. So we don't have anything to toast with.
I can't believe this. Well, we'll have to rectify that after the shoot.
It's before lunch.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks, Steve.
Thank you, James.
Happy brewing.
Happy brewing.
Come and visit us on the web. At basicbrewing.com, you can find archive lists of both our audio and video podcasts on home brewing. You can also find our DVDs, Introduction to Extract Home Brewing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and our latest edition, Introduction to Wine Kits. And for a limited time, you can find our 2009 Brewer's Logbook, where you can schedule and track the details of up to 50 batches of beer. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Write to james@basicbrewing.com, steve@basicbrewing.com, or just use the contact form on basicbrewing.com.
It's good to have friends.